Bob Weinstein, please. Yeah, it's his brother Harvey Weinstein. Hi, Bob. Nothing much, just jerking off into a plant pot in a dressing gown while a noted actress of our time looks on. Listen, I was in Blockbuster last night. You know, the movie rental place that is never going to close down? Uh, the guy working there said their two biggest rentals were Dirty Dancing and The Godfather Part 2. Any way we could do a sequel or a remake of that picture? Well, how much did Lionsgate give you to develop it? Well, that's not enough for two movies. Could we do both ideas in the same movie? Maybe do the story of Dirty Dancing and set it in Cuba before the revolution. Well, we'll get Swayze back. Yeah, I know the revolution was 5 years before Dirty Dancing set, and he's 15 years older now. Let's just not name his character and hope the audience stop asking questions. Anyway, think it over. I gotta take care of the human stain. It's a movie I'm producing with Hopkins and Kidman. Although it pretty much works both ways for what I'm about to do now. Uno momento! Stand right there. It's the Dirty Dancing Havana Nights Watch-Along!
Hello and welcome to the Everything Sequel podcast. You guessed it. We're doing a watch-along to Dirty Dancing Havana Nights. A severe departure from our previous watch-alongs. My name is Michael Schatz of the How Dare You Awards from here in San Diego, Pacific Beach. Joining me, of course, Tom Stewart of Lonesome Whistle Productions in the closet in Chula Vista. Hello, Tom.
I already know how to do the foxtrot.
Do you?
No. Neither does Romola Garai, whatever her name is, particularly.
Yeah, that's my first note. I noticed that. Okay, first of all, Tom, I think we discussed this already. I can't remember if it was on air or off air, but I did see this movie in the theaters.
Yeah, and you upon mentioning that we were going to do this next, that was your first reaction, and I have to say that confused me that anyone would see this. That it even was in movie theaters was a surprise.
It's astonishing.
Yes. So tell me a little bit about that.
I can't. I don't.
wait. You don't remember anything about it?
I remember one cameo appearance, and like just that it happens, but no content from it.
Right.
Good day.
Well, I mean, you might have been the target audience of having Patrick Swayze in this movie. Like,
well, yeah.
Because
I don't know that their target audience was just a movie maniac who will literally go see anything.
Well, I mean, it definitely has that ring about it. I should clarify, this is February. We're still in the dump month section of the calendar.
Yeah.
And so, this is another dump month classic. Which traditionally the month January and February, the months of the year where studios dump their garbage.
Mm-hmm.
This feels like a I'll start out with a leading statement.
Right now, you and I are like the Millennium Falcon waiting to fly away with the rest of the trash.
Right. Exactly. I was going to say something very, very similar. I was going to say that this feels like a lot of people's garbage. This feels like a garbage dump that has like a whole municipality's garbage in it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not one kind of garbage.
No.
It's from several neighborhoods of garbage have all come together in this one movie. So just to backtrack a little bit, we mentioned that February dump month, and one of the ideas behind these watch-alongs is that we premiere them on
Yeah.
the
On
anniversary.
their premiere date. Yeah.
Yeah, of the date of the original premiere, which was 27th February. So you know that's why we're doing it in February. The other criteria we have, our second criteria is that it should be a kind of controversial sequel in some respects, something we were unlikely to do on the show, on our regular show. Something that that has aspects of a sequel, but is kind of is difficult to categorize.
Well, and in point of fact, this is not a sequel.
Well, this is the thing. What I immediately knew this was right for a watch along when I started to read about it, and I realized no one knows what to call this movie. Like, if you read any account of this movie, it will interchangeably use sequel, prequel, spin-off,
Right.
remake, reboot. No one knows. And, you know, unsurprisingly, when you get into the movie itself, you realize the movie is none the wiser about what its relationship is to the original movie.
Right. So, and this is problematic because, all right, Dirty Dancing comes out in 1987. This movie comes out in 2004.
Right.
But is a prequel.
Yep, 5 years
this
earlier.
This movie takes place in 1958 as opposed to Dirty Dancing,
which is not a date you can fudge because, you know, if you're setting your movie in Cuba.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You can't go screwing around with dates.
You can't precise. Texas Chainsaw 3D this one, guys.
No. So this movie takes place, or rather, this movie takes place in 58. Dirty Dancing takes place in 63, but Patrick Swayze will make an appearance in this movie as his younger self almost 20 years later.
Are you sure that that's what they were going for?
I'm pretty sure. He's the same character.
He's unnamed. He's just dance class instructor. So they obviously assumed people would think what you thought and then refuse to name him by his Dirty Dancing character for exactly the reason that you just highlighted.
That's stupid, though. You can't put him in this movie and not have people expect. Yeah.
Don't shoot the messenger. I didn't write this fucking thing.
I didn't mean to jump down your throat. Apologies, I tell you.
Whoa.
Oh fuck. But at any rate, I think it just lends to the magic of this movie.
Well,
because that's just nonsensical. That's fucking dumb.
It is. It's not. I mean, aside from the movie doesn't know what kind of sequel it wants to be. And Swayze is, I think, indicative. The confusing use of Patrick Swayze is indicative of that.
Right, because somebody in some room said, "Hey, let's do a Dirty Dancing sequel."
Well, you just saw the piece of historical theater that.
You did create, yes.
Yeah, I'm not John Malkovich in a fat suit, but I think you get the idea.
But I just think it's remarkable that somebody came up with that idea. This is a Jenkins idea. I think I've talked about Jenkins before. Jenkins is my go-to guy with every bad idea in a room that for some reason people just agree to do what Jenkins says.
Right.
So Jenkins said, I got an idea. Let's do a Dirty Dancing sequel without Patrick Swayze and without Jennifer Grey. And then somebody else in the room said, this is like a Key and Peele situation, So somebody said, can't we bring them back? No, they don't want to do it. What if we have Swayze do a cameo? Great. People will love it. And so you're just kind of stacking shit on top of shit.
Yeah. But it's not even clear when the movie begins. It's not clear what kind of movie this is claiming to be. Because, I might now that because I was gonna talk to you on the level of someone who's seen this movie, as I have. but
you
clearly you
watched
remember
it.
Siri, you remember zero about it. So I
Yeah.
don't want to. I don't really want to sort of spoil the surprises of this movie. But let's just say that the movie is may or may not be. So first of all, the fact that it's a sequel to Dirty Dancing, that's already in question. Add to that the fact the movie claims to be based on real events. That's in the title.
I've got that here somewhere. Hang on.
That comes up on the title screen.
This is it's
so
all right, wait. The plot is loosely based on the life story of producer Joanne Fregelate Jansen, who moved to Cuba with her family in 1958. Thus, the based on true events title.
Well, you see, as the movie went on, I thought, well, based on true events applies the fact that the Cuban Revolution happened, because no other aspect of the movie seemed in any way different to the story of Dirty Dancing. So I just assumed that's what they meant by based on real events. I didn't know that there was a biographical element to it too. So yeah, it's claiming to be a biopic. A movie about an important moment in world history, the Cuban Revolution.
Right.
And I guess it's a musical, a dance film. It has the word dancing in the title. So it's
do you know who curious. Do you know who has a story credit on this movie?
I dread to think.
You ever listen to Wait, Don't Tell Me?
No.
On NPR?
No.
Oh, it's great. Peter Sagal.
I have
so
no
for
idea.
Those of you that listen to Wait, Don't Tell Me, Peter Sagal, host of Wait, Don't Tell Me, has a story credit.
Again, I'm thinking that
it's sort of like the same. It's kind of this, I equate it to like Roger Ebert writing. Fuck, what was that movie he wrote? That B movie he wrote.
What is Wait, Don't Tell Me for all those who don't know?
Wait, Don't Tell Me is a Saturday morning NPR show where 3 comedians come on and they kind of poke fun, and they have they have guests call in, they have people from America call in, and they just have bits, and they kind of poke fun at news stories throughout from the past week.
Okay, so he's a sort of satirist then.
Yeah.
Okay, well, none of that translates into this movie. If I would say if he was the people who are making this movie claimed to be historians, I would slap them in the face for even suggesting that. And the other behind the scenes element that really
Beyond the Valley of the Dolls is what I was thinking of. I had to look
right, okay. We've stopped some nerd shouting at us. Well done, there, Michael. What's the other behind the scenes aspect of this movie that I think is just hard to ignore because of what we've learned since the movie came out is that it's a Miramax movie, which means the Weinstein brothers.
was harassed. That's what it means.
And the fact that this movie encounters issues. Well, the fact that sexuality plays a part in this movie and it's produced by the Weinsteins is a problem.
Agreed.
The fact that they talk explicitly about consent in this movie, and that the idea that Harvey Weinstein had his grubby fingernails on how that discussion happens.
Oh no!
It seems very apparent. So, and in general, I don't think history has treated this movie very well. There's lots of unchecked cultural appropriation. It's in that we've talked. This is fascinating because we talked about this kind of moment in American cultural history where people who are making media are getting very complacent about race and racism. And this movie has both extremes of that problem, where it's like you're either not taking race seriously enough or you're taking it too seriously. So we get racial slurs coming at us hard and fast, but we're also expected to believe that this interracial couple goes around in 1958 with the support of both their families and, as far as we know, both of their communities. So it's like pick a side, guys.
Oh fuck. Well, now I'm looking forward to this fucking mess. This is a departure for us, because but when you pitched this idea to me, man, I was fully on board, because it's such a departure from horror or sci-fi or schlock or
I mean, because the other, just for those of you who don't know, the other criteria we have for these watch-alongs is that it's a kind of movie where you need emotional support to watch it.
To get through it. That's what
you need
we're
a lot
here
of hand-holding. And this movie has
You're gonna look at our garb and tell us that we're not here for you?
Right, exactly.
Come
on. We're your emotional support dogs through this movie. And there's so many red flags in this movie. I mean, before you even begin the movie, it's an hour and 26 minutes. And, we've talked before about, Paul Scheer's definition of
not being able to hit that 90-minute mark.
Not being able to hit that 90-minute mark. You're probably watching a bad movie. In terms of a sequel, we've said if the sequel gets progressively shorter than the original, that's also a big red flag.
Yeah.
So both those things are true. Also, something that I heard Paul Rust say on a podcast, which one of his overriding definitions of a bad movie is the movie begins with a voiceover that's never picked up again.
Which you cannot say of Young Guns too.
Yeah,
it's picked up again.
although it does get picked up at the very end. The rest of the movie is Sans voiceover.
Sans voice, yeah.
I think that fits into that camp as well. So you're already starting at a disadvantage, I think.
Right.
And actually, I'd say, and I'm not going to spoil it because it's at the very end of the movie, but I'd say the way that this movie ends is one of our own kind of imbas. It must be a sequel related red flags. We've noticed that it's a way a movie ends that is a sure sign that it has been a bad movie. We've talked about before. That will happen here too.
I'm pretty excited to watch this movie a second time for the first time.
I don't want to pry too much into your private life, but I mean, I'm trying to imagine. You said that it was because you see everything, right?
Yeah.
That was why you went. You weren't. I mean, I in my head.
So
I in my head imagine that you were on a date. I don't know why. No. I couldn't think of any other scenario.
No. I'm an insane person, Tom.
Really, I mean, there was nothing else.
There
was nothing else on it. That movie
I think roughly in America, there's somewhere between 200 and 225 movies released a year pre-COVID. Mainstream movies released a year. Every single year, I would see 180 to 210 of them at least. There wouldn't be a lot of movies I missed.
Wow.
Okay. Because I require mental health help. I'm insane.
And all you remember is Swayze. That's it. That's all you remember.
No, yeah. I remember it's in Cuba.
Okay, good. It's called Havana Nights. I'm sorry, yeah. I'm not going to give that to you. That doesn't count as a memory that you've reread the title. I'm sorry.
No, but I mean, I can remember a couple visual images of what's supposed to look like Cuba, but is actually, of course, Puerto Rico.
Right. Well,
And I can almost picture Romola's face. But I also think that's just because of the
you know what? In
poster.
fairness, she has one of the most almost picturable faces in cinema. It's like it's kind of, it goes between like Bryce Dallas Howard and, you know, Christina Hendricks. It kind of like oscillates, but it's neither and both.
Well, I
at the
mean,
same
I'm
time.
looking at her picture now. Here's a funny thing, because you and I were just talking about, fuck, there's a lot of people in this movie. I was looking at her face right now, and right before we started talking, and I remember thinking, man, she looks like, in this picture, she looks a lot like January Jones. And then I started going down the line and I went, hey, January Jones is in this fucking movie.
Yeah, we have two actors who would be in Mad Men.
Yeah, John Slattery.
John
Slattery.
Yeah.
Sela Ward is in this
Swayze,
movie.
you know, burying the lead here and saying that this is Diego Luna's Hollywood breakout movie, or clearly that's what was intended.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was, you know, he was a fairly big star in Latin America cinema, and you know, it begins a process that Rogue One ends in 2016,
something like that.
So it's an ongoing. It was an ongoing thing, but clearly, you know, that they're trying to mark him out as a future Hollywood property.
Star.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's very. Oh, not to mention, you know, there are contemporary pop stars like Maya in the movie who had to explain to Michael who that was before.
I said, there's a person in this movie with a single name like Cher. Who's Maya? And you had to say, oh no, yeah, she's
famous from the Moulin Rouge soundtrack, but she actually plays well, I can't really call it a character. I guess in the context of a musical, it's a character because she's a singer called Lola Martinez. But
right.
She does is
funny
sing.
Because I just have no RAM in my head for music. I like music, love music, fan of music, but just on the sister podcast, on the How Dare You podcast, Chu and I were just doing one the other day, and I reeled off like, I don't know, some actors in a movie or years of movies, and she had said something about, I don't even understand how you know all that. And I said, oh, my memory palace is completely dedicated to just movie nonsense.
Well, clearly, if you're watching 200 movies a year, there's no room for pop stars like Maya in there. Would you be surprised to learn that on the soundtrack of this movie, Shakira also appears? Do you know who that is?
I do know who that is.
Okay.
I'll even add, of course, I know who Shakira is, and it doesn't surprise me.
Remember, this movie set in 1958. Okay.
Still doesn't surprise me.
You know, what you said, that this is so radically different from what we've done before, and yet again, we're back to talking about timelines that don't work. We can't get away from this. This movie, you know, the Swayze cameo, as we've already discussed, skews the timeline in such a way that it's difficult to reconcile.
Right.
Added to the fact that we have famous 2004 music and musical performers.
Yeah, performers.
Being played in dance clubs in Havana in 1958 with literally no you know, it's not like, I don't know. For me, I mean, I might be missing the point here. This is not like a Baz Luhrmann, Great Gatsby, Moulin Rouge, intentionally putting contemporary music into a historical period. Like, there's no conceptual workaround for this. It's just accept that in 1958 they were listening to mainly 90s 2000s R&B and rap music.
All right.
So
another movie lost in time.
Yeah. And this movie, in so many other ways, is like carbon dated in that he's got that 2004 brand on its butt, because it seems to be capitalizing on all the popular Hollywood tropes of the time. Chicago had just come out, Moulin Rouge. It's pulling all of those retro, like the kind of retro modern balancing acts as far as a musical goes. We're not that many years from Titanic, an interclass couple against the backdrop of a cataclysmic historical event. I mean, that's the formula. Far From Heaven came out 2 years ago, so there's that kind of scratching the surface of 50s, superficial racial 50s America.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I thought of, there's actually a lot of scenes that in this movie that are subtitled, and I thought, oh yeah, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon was like the first fully subtitled movie that came out in 2000. So it's playing, it's dealing a lot of those hands, as well as and my little historical sketch there at the beginning of the movie.
Right
at the beginning of the watch along suggests, directly crosses over with The Godfather Part 2, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, so much so that I wouldn't be surprised if you could see Michael Corleone's car driving across the background of the shot, because they're timeline wise, and when he arrives in Cuba in the movie, what happens when he arrives in Cuba in the movie, are all covered in this movie. So somewhere around here, Michael Corleone and his bodyguard are driving around Havana.
That's great.
And the movie, I mean, I think I'm an absolute Godfather nut, as anyone who knows anything about me will know. But as far as I'm concerned, the movie is leaning into that for want of anything else interesting to do. There's literally one scene that is taken directly from The Godfather Part 2 that, when I watched it, my first thought was, oh, that's funny. That's kind of a similar scene in Godfather 2. And by the end of the scene, I went, that is that same scene from Godfather 2. And happening at exactly the moment in history that scene happens in The Godfather Part 2 and in the same place.
Right.
I'm like, what the fuck? This is you want to? Is this a sequel to Dirty Dancing? We don't even know if this is a sequel to Dirty Dancing. I don't know if this is a fucking interquel for The Godfather.
That's great. Oh, well, I say we get to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Before we start, I just want to say that this watch along is being brought to you by the Sounds and Cinema podcast, hosted by our very good friends Tony Parham and D-Rock, which we call him if you're nasty, and I am. So
he is.
Yeah. I want to say thank you to the boys. We love your podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are not listening to it yet, please start listening to it now. They wax poetic about all things sound in film, television, stage, whatever.
Wow, much needed podcast.
Yeah, and they try to do it while cracking beers as well. So most of it is D-Rock trying to keep Tony Parham locked and loaded and on target. And that's a recurring theme, of course, and it's just great fun. Tony has been instrumental in helping Tom and I, try to make our podcast sound better each and every week, trying to make that work. And recently, Tony just lost his father. So from the Everything Sequel podcast, we love you and condolences.
Much love.
Yeah. I'm ready.
Yeah, let's.
Right.
I want to say that that's a sad note to start this movie in, but not for this movie. I think everyone is now fully prepared,
as much as you can be,
both informationally and tonally, for this movie.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this movie is on HBO Max. So go to HBO Max, set it up. We're going to give you a minute and then we'll count it down. Sound good?
Yeah.
All right.
Um,
We'll give them a moment.
okay. Cue up that movie. This is our first HBO Max
Yeah, it is.
watch along, so we're getting you're getting a better class of along watchers, I think.
There you go.
People with a little bit of disposable income.
I wonder how many people. I wonder how many people just said, "I don't have fucking HBO Max, assholes."
Yeah. Some it's like, oh fuck, I gotta watch this on Potlocker. Send 20 viruses into my computer just to watch Dirty Dancing Havana Nights on an illegal platform.
Download. Yeah. All right. Well, I say that should be enough time. You, Tom?
Yeah, and it also,
Let's do it.
It also gives you an idea about the kind of abuse you're gonna suffer if you stick around.
There you go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're counting down. You ready, Tom?
Sure.
I am ready. Here we go. Dirty Dancing, Havana Nights, the 2004 film, directed by Guy Ferland. In 3.
Your guess is as good as mine.
2, 1, go.
There's
Lionsgate.
Lionsgate, their pre-CGI cog logo.
Right. Is Lionsgate still around?
Yeah, they did Rambo, to speak to our podcast. They did Rambo Last Blood.
Oh, I'm already concerned with this music.
You know that elaborate CGI cog logo? That's Lionsgate.
Okay.
And Miramax.
That's right. That's right.
Miramax is also concerning.
Oh, hey, photograph.
The cum stain of the Weinsteins over this one.
Oh, God damn it.
Yeah, postcard, voiceover.
This movie already seems like it's trying to give you a stroke. Oh my God, based on true events is in the fucking title?
In the title. Like, what are they claiming to be a documentary? There's John Slattery from Mad Men, Roger Sterling.
There you go.
And that is, her mother is Mrs. Dr. Richard Kimball from The Fugitive.
That's
right. Last, most famously seen having her head bashed in with a paperweight. I mean, at this point, I think that it's like it's like the B-tier TV movie background actor, but the highest caliber of that.
Uh-huh. January Jones,
yeah. Then I wonder if there's like a central casting just for people who look good in mid-century stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we're doing a movie in '58. We got to go to this agency that all the Mad Men cast belong to. Is this music feeling authentically late 1950s to you, Mike?
No.
I don't think Santana was recording music in that.
This movie to me is announcing that it will have nothing to do with the previous movie.
That's the biggest surprise so far, that the words Dirty Dancing came up.
Right. Exactly. You absolutely could have just called this movie Havana Nights.
Yeah.
And then it's not a prequel sequel.
Oh, there you go. There's your Peter Sagal. This is everything she knows about Cuba. If that's as good as we're going to get, why bother?
Is that January?
Yep.
That looks like Leo.
Yeah, he looks like, yeah. Well, Leo had just done Gangs of New York as well.
A brain, you say? Do we know that guy?
His name's Jonathan Jackson. I didn't really.
Does not look familiar.
He's the Harvey Weinstein surrogate in this movie.
Oh, no. I can firmly say nothing's ringing a bell yet.
Oh.
Oh. Oh.
Yep.
Oh, Jesus
I know.
Christ.
This is what I mean. The racial slurs just come hard and fast. And, you know, everyone on, well, most people on screen are suitably outraged, but it doesn't help that he's introduced as if he's Manuel from Fawlty Towers.
No, I was just going to say, like, this entrance is...
So again, this is what I mean about the subtitles. Like half that scene was subtitles, then they transitioned to English. But
yeah, right.
You know, pre Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, I don't think they'd have had any subtitles.
Oh, now we're in the artist.
This is where you first get the inkling that Tony Slattery really is no Lenny Briscoe. Tony Slattery, John Slattery. Tony Slattery is a 1990s improv comedian. Yeah. So her dad is was a former dancer.
Clearly.
Former ballroom dancer. But then that's a totally different family dynamic from Dirty Dancing.
Right.
And she's already a trained, accomplished dancer, we're told.
So, yeah, right. Did we
mention they're now dancing
already yet that they hired two actors that literally had no dancing experience?
Also, I just want to point out they're basically dancing to Sympathy for the Devil by the Rolling Stones from a whole 10 years later.
He looked like he was about to drop her.
I so like at that point in the movie, I'm thinking, okay, so this is a different family dynamic. Her, you know, the arc of the main character is different from Dirty Dancing, but I'm also thinking, what could possibly that arc be?
Right.
Kids learning things in classes in movies, whatever they're learning about is what the movie's really about. Just a little inside baseball tip for you there. This is my first imbas. It must be a sequel because we've got our first sequel inversion. Because the first movie, I wrote this down. In the first movie, they were on vacation from school. Now they're in school on vacation.
They go to a vacation spot to go back to school.
Right. Now, I'm not doubting the extensive historical research that I'm sure went into this movie, but
of course.
Those girls' school uniforms look like hotel maids to me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if there's some sort of subversive statement there about.
I thought the same thing. I thought they should be turning down rooms or selling cookies. And these are the only two options in these outfits.
You're right. He's so familiar. He looks like every Hollywood actor
Yeah.
that's ever existed. Yet he's not any of them.
No. I love it when they try to prove characters are smart in movies.
Yeah, Greek mythology is always like a vehicle for that, I think. That and Shakespeare. If characters quote Shakespeare or talk about Greek mythology, you're supposed to think they're smart.
What was that, or a taxi?
Well, yeah, I mean, have a plan to get home.
Because if that was her father's a dick.
No, that was her friends, but I guess she missed her ride. And now
her friends are dicks.
And now she has to.
This is alarming.
She has to walk home through the streets.
Through the rapist portion of Cuba.
In, just prior to a revolution.
Right.
Against white American colonization. Certainly doesn't seem that way.
Oh. Now, did he get fired? Or did she save his job?
I don't think he got fired.
He didn't?
Oh, special guest appearance by Gary Coleman. I don't want to disparage Cuban dancing, but to me, that's just shaking. That's just quivering.
You just leave your fucking imperialist notions at the door, sir.
Look at Gary Coleman grind.
He's going. Boom.
And something else you've also accused me of is being prudish when it comes to child sexuality. But I think that kid's too young to be grinding that way. Unless he really is Gary Coleman, in which case, more power to him. It's like a 50-year-old man.
In which case, he's clearly coked up anyway.
Took a day off from his security guard job.
Oh, Gary Coleman gets a special goodbye.
I loved you in different strokes, is what he said in Spanish. To which he replied, "What are you talking about?" What are you talking about? That's the 5 words she knows in Spanish.
Wait, did she? Yeah, is that what she just said? Didn't she engage him in Spanish just 5 minutes ago?
Yeah.
Dirty.
And because
I've never seen dancing like that. It's kind of.
You ever seen a movie called Dirty Dancing? I mean, I know it won't come out for another 30 years, but what the fuck? We're listening to Shakira.
Yeah.
It occurs to me that the first movie is based on the couple is based on a class disparity, but here we've gone up and we've gone down. So Javier's a street dancer. And what's her name? I've already forgotten her name.
Romola?
Yeah, no, but what's her real name?
The character, Katie Miller?
Katie is from a relatively wealthy family. Oh,
right.
This is the Godfather 2 scene.
This is
the scene where I was watching it. I thought, oh, that's funny. That song's playing when Michael Corleone arrives in Cuba. In that scene where the police break up the rebels. Yeah, and then the police break up the rebels.
By the way, isn't this information they could have gathered before moving to Cuba, that some shit was going on? It's not the time to move to Cuba, right?
The problem is it doesn't look like shit is going on. It clearly is. I mean,
I should have called on my cell phone. Oh, Miss Ward knows something's up. Can't fool me.
Here we go.
I'm going to practice dirty.
You hear the music playing? Right. In Cuba now, they don't have new American cars. I guarantee you they don't have access in 1958 to R&B and rap music from the 90s. I'm sorry.
Checking out her moves.
You can't get the Weinsteins out of your mind when you see a scene like this, where it's just like a man unannounced watching a woman
watching a woman's ass
in a mirror.
Yeah. You were terrible, but I'd like to see you naked. So I said you were good.
Fun fact, Diego Luna improv that line after seeing Romola dance. I think if Star Wars hadn't come along, Diego would have been bummed that Gael Garcia Bernal got to play Che Guevara and he got to do this.
Right.
One of many lines in this movie where, I don't know, I don't want to blame the delivery so much as the writing, but they're not good lines.
Yeah, right.
And it also makes me wonder, like, what's gained by having her already being a good dancer, like just.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that.
You cut to the chase quicker. Like, what's the advantage?
I was just gonna mention that. Do they not want to feel like they were doing the same thing in the first movie, where she starts from ground zero?
Right. I think this scene is very problematic.
Yeah.
Asking the maid to tell her how to act like a Latina when you're a privileged white girl.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a scene that they would reconsider now as pure cultural appropriation without commenting on it. But apparently it was okay in 2004.
Which was not long ago. Who's that young actor? She kind of looks familiar too.
Oh, I don't know. She might be another almost picturable, as you put it.
Right. Let's find out.
From the Hollywood almost picturable list. This is another kind of problem, is that they go to this rock and roll American.
I know what I know her from. She's the little girl in Along Came the Spider.
You missed John Slattery as Elvis.
Oh no.
He did a little Elvis move. I'd watch a whole John Slattery as Elvis movie. Now this rock and roll dance looks pretty fun to me, but this is the thing that she's trying to get away from, which is where this movie gets kind of complicated. This is like looks more fun than the ballroom
She looks so good that grown man put his cigar down. So in January Jones's eyes, you can't wear too many clothes, but you can't have tight clothes. Do I have that right? There's just no pleasing that woman.
I kind of like that they shifted the conflict from the between in the original it's between the parents and the kids, and in this one it's just within the hierarchies of the kids.
Yeah,
which is interesting if it went anywhere, which it doesn't.
Which
See,
it won't.
It's really hard to spin rock and roll and soul music from this period as uncool. Like,
right, yeah.
You want to be there.
Of course.
It's music of, youth, energy, vitality. It's also music of color. It's no less ethnically diverse than Cuban music. So it's a weird starting point. It's like we need to get out of this. we need to get out of this club where the best music that will ever be written is being played.
Right. Here's a good story for you. The fans of the podcast aren't going to hear it for a while, but we just recorded some podcast with a co-host, with a special guest star. So maybe I'll save the special guest star, but I can tell you that he and I used to be roommates, and he worked for the Sundance Institute and set up stuff in their international program. So he went to Cuba like 4 years in a row.
Right.
And his first year, he went there and he came back home and said, "We got to go to the store and get some limes and mint. I got to tell you about mojitos."
Nice.
Reminded me when I heard them talk about the mojito party.
Speaking of a recent podcast development that people might not have heard yet, Mike and I have started listing our COVID moments in the movies we're watching. Or everything in the club La Rosa Negra in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone is way too close together.
Yeah.
At all times. There's no social distancing going on at La Rosa Negra.
No. COVID factory, this place.
You also, it was something else that was blink and you'll miss it, is they announced at the rock and roll dance, the dance competition that this whole movie will ostensibly be about. It really was a blink and you'll miss it moment.
Oh.
Like they said, here's the dance competition. And
I think I did miss it.
But that's what the movie is about.
What did he say? You look so pure? Is that what he said?
No, I don't know.
Or cool? Yeah. White boy. That came as a surprise.
Hey, we have another singer in 1958 Cuba who is definitely post Aretha Franklin in her vocal stylings.
It appears that the boyfriend's name, I think, is Jonathan Jackson.
Yeah.
He has won a Daytime Emmy Award for General Hospital.
Good for him. Another big problem with this movie is the most political people in the movie are the biggest dicks.
Yeah.
And it's almost as if Diego Luna's character, Javier, is nicer because he's not political.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that thing as well where, like, you know, again, it talked about postmodernism and racism can sometimes just be racist. So, like, doing the trope of the person of color taking the white girl away from her white date.
From her white date.
Because they want to do the trope, but the trope is racist. So you're doing racism by doing the trope. I don't know. I also think that, like, this, the image of Cuba that we're getting doesn't seem like it's in much need of a revolution.
You're absolutely right, right?
It looks like everyone's getting along fine.
It looks like everyone is just doing dandy. Looks like a wonderful, magical place.
He said more than that.
So,
he said more than let them go.
You were saying that there's no family problems with them getting together. Doesn't seem like brother's too thrilled.
Brother? That's not her brother. Oh, yeah, on the other side.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, once he realizes that he's abandoned his family by being a rebel, it all changes.
Hey, creep.
Here we go.
He asked me to dance, dickhead.
So we have Weinsteins, and back in the day when privileged white teenagers like to rape women. So
That
glad
guy's
we're
a
well
Supreme
beyond
Court
that now.
justice now.
I'm so glad we're beyond that now. And good job we have morally responsible people like the Weinsteins producing movies as well.
Right.
She needs to stop pissing off her rides home.
This girl cannot ever get home.
It's like rule one of going out without a ride home is,
you know, what this
you
scene
stay
needs?
friendly with everyone no matter what happens.
This scene needs a flying piranha.
I was just gonna say that I like you could easily ADR the dialogue from Jaws 3D where it say, yeah, my brother Sean was attacked by a shark. That's why he doesn't like to go in the water anymore. But only to us, Mike. Only to us.
Yeah. Man, Diego really does look like a baby boy. He's young.
He looks fetal.
Yeah.
It's interesting that it's also interesting, like, I guess the film is kind of forcing the point that he's as slight looking as the white guy. There's nothing more masculine about him except how he behaves and, you know, his ability to dance, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that's what sets him apart from Jonathan Jackson.
Let me put that strap on instead of ripping it off.
I don't
clearly
again,
delineate between the two men.
I can't unsee Harvey Weinstein in that moment. Like, you know, it's not really that bad. I'll just put the strap back up. and no one will know. It'll all be fine. No one ever need know.
This movie is fucking okay.
Swayze.
This is the perfect moment for Swayze, because I was just about to say this movie has no semblance to the original movie.
So you're right in thinking this is probably the same character, because look, he's dressed exactly the same. He has the same job.
It's totally Johnny Castle.
Same look, same dance moves.
Just almost 20 years older.
However, he doesn't have that character's name, and the timelines are off. The one thing I did think of, this is like we're in the Renaissance period.
Because in Dirty Dancing, he does say, like, I have some ideas for, some kind of Cuban moves.
I mean, he's aged fantastically well. It almost works. But when he was like introduced by a voiceover, you hear him before you see him, and it reminded me of his character in Donnie Darko.
Mm-hmm.
His kind of evangelist character.
Wait, he's seen her practicing? Where?
It's a Weinstein movie, so it's fine for men to linger around
in bushes,
watching women without their knowledge. It's not something that gets sent upstairs to Harvey.
It's added for Harvey.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's because you were attacking me.
And she dances, she dances with Swayze there for no plot reason.
Is that it, by the way?
No, not quite. For
Swayze?
But he doesn't, like, at this point, we'll get there. All right. It's not quite, but you've seen about a third of Swayze so far.
All right.
Maybe, a third, I would say. He doesn't really leave that room.
Oh, wow.
But it really just makes you like when you have that scene which could have been cut out of the movie and would like have no consequence to the movie. It made me think, it's like, oh yeah, now I get it. Dirty Dancing is just like a coat hanger to drape the film over.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it. It's a disingenuous ploy to try and put butts in seats.
She said then, she said, her sister said, they're not like us. And she said, there is no us. And it's such a, like that line, I was like, that is either one of the most sophisticated things ever said about race in a movie, echoing Richard Dyer's theories of whiteness, or it's just something to say. I think it's the latter. It's basically like my son does with me. It's like, no, you take your pull-up off. Like, it's just reversing the thing someone said.
Yeah. You say finish your cereal. He says, no, you finish your cereal.
Exactly, yeah. but accidentally, she said the most, conceptually sophisticated thing that's ever been said about race in a Hollywood movie.
Right. You
like
Yankees.
Michael Corleone. This is the point of the movie where I thought, having just seen the Swayze cameo, they're talking so much about gangsters and the revolution. I thought, we may see Pacino before the end of this picture. Play as Michael Corleone circa 1974.
You know how this movie could have just elevated to genius? Is if they recreated scenes from Godfather 2 to put in the background of almost every scene in this movie.
I mean, you could probably do that in digital now, right?
Right. Like if the dance contest, took place and you saw Michael kissing Fredo on the mouth behind the dance contest.
Or you could just, like, when they're in the hotel pool, you pan up and it's just like Hyman Roth. And it's
Hyman
like,
Roth.
I want everyone to enjoy their cake, so enjoy.
Amazing.
But just that part of the scene where it doesn't look as out of place.
Right.
It's just a guy enjoying cake.
So what's this about? Why does she want to get him money?
So he can, yeah, because he's been fired. Now he's been fired because they were seen together at the beach and her little sister ratted on her. So now he needs money to support his family.
Knocking over the drinks onto white people, you can keep your job.
If
Walking
you pay
on
for
the
them.
beach with a white person, fired.
Well, I think, yeah, although I think that's, yeah, you're right. That is completely inconsistent. But then he wouldn't, you know.
I'm just keeping a record.
But then, you know, then she wouldn't have been able to utter a racial slur in his direction, which
There you go. Yeah.
shows us that there is racism in 1958 Cuba, which... So the brother is politically active and
Right.
Javier isn't, which, again, it feels to me like the screenwriter's trying to say that it wasn't America's fault. It wasn't like because they had an American-backed dictator that the revolution needed to happen. It's because the Cubans turned on themselves.
Yeah.
Like it was a civil war.
But it's also not, it doesn't feel like the screenplay is also setting up that he's an enormous free spirit either.
True.
You know?
No, he's the opposite of that. He's working several jobs to support his family, while the brother is seen as ignoring his family because he's fighting with the rebels, because he has a higher political objective.
Yeah, right.
Because he wants to improve everyone's lives. He's a villain.
So this is why she started off at a certain point, because they have to mix what they're both good at to come together. Because it's Latin ballroom, Tom.
Well, and this is what made me realize that one of the big movies that makes a difference that came in between this and the original Dirty Dancing is Baz Luhrmann's Strictly Ballroom.
Uh-huh.
Because that was all about, Strictly Ballroom was like a modern take on Dirty Dancing. And this is like a take on Strictly Ballroom, a Latin take on Strictly Ballroom.
Yeah. He's going to burn it. Throw it away. There you go.
You get rid of that lightsaber. It's a very Last Jedi moment. Was he wasn't in that one though, was he?
No.
Things are about to get very montagey, if you hadn't already guessed.
You could feel it coming.
So now
Susan Sarandon's aunt?
I don't know. So she's using him as her beard.
Yeah.
Blackmailing him because he tried to rape her.
Rapist beard.
Which, you know, as Harvey Weinstein will tell you, that's the way to deal with a rapist.
Yeah.
That's the way to deal with attempted rape, is to find some way to blackmail the other person. Keep it under the table.
He tried to rape me.
Right. It's almost progressive in that she's trying to have the talk with her and she's already been raped. But then this moment happens where he just gropes her. This scene also hasn't dated well.
What's happening?
Javier is pretending to be a girl. I mean, there's so much about consent in this movie.
I was just gonna say
about when it's okay to touch and not touch, and
I didn't want to waste the music on you who hasn't learned enough yet.
I'm a rape victim. I don't like being grabbed.
It's a bit triggering.
There's Swayze again.
All right.
The second third of the interrupted Swayze cameo. Uno momento, stand right there. Made me think that Swayze's there for the people, the white people in the audience who think there's too many Latins in this movie. Because he comes in at exactly the point that we've seen so many like people of color. It's like, we need a little bit of Swayze to break up the diversity. Again, I don't know what's gained by him being all sweaty, apart from the fact that you get to see Patrick Swayze all sweaty.
That's it.
Yep. He looks good sweaty. But then it makes it creepier that, you know, he's like, stay in the room. I'm all sweaty.
I'm all sweaty. Come on over.
I mean, you know, it's hard not to read Harvey Weinstein into that moment. I'm right. I must be right in thinking that this is what people thought they were getting.
Yeah.
Like a whole movie of this.
Totally. Spaghetti arm. See, right now she's learning that when Diego Luna did that, it wasn't an aggressive person of color doing it. He was trying to teach her to dance, because now that a white guy's doing it.
And an older, it's much better when it's an older white guy.
Yeah, right.
Who's claiming to be your mentor. Who's taken it upon himself to teach you the ways.
Who's already announced to you that he's seen you. Oh, that's Johnny.
Here we go. She gets to have her. Now, a lot of people have speculated online that there's a kind of time of your life motif in some of the music here. Like some of the Cuban music is infused with a kind of time of your life backing track. This
I
is a
had
lot
a
of
note.
speculation that it's been like basically the soundtrack has been Bill Medleyed. Who's another person that we've encountered in one of our future podcasts, which we
Well,
won't spoil.
there's a moment, like I have a note here that says because Swayze's in it, before the ending credits, there's a new instrumental version.
Yeah.
Of I've Had the Time of My Life.
Even a little
that
bit here,
starts.
though.
Yeah. Do you know who
Like
the two people that were originally supposed to be cast in this movie were?
Ray Liotta and no, I don't know. It's always Ray Liotta. The answer to that question is invariably Ray Liotta. Go on.
Natalie Portman.
Oh.
And Ricky Martin.
Ricky Martin as Javier?
Yeah.
Okay. I foresee some issues there. It's kind of interesting given that
back in the water, just like the original.
Notice, the film's lack of subtlety. He's behind bars.
Mm-hmm.
Like either a caged animal or a trapped human being. This is like the grade school version of Latin cultural history that he's giving here.
Absolutely.
He sounds like he's explaining it to kindergarten children. Why is the camera moving so much? It's like, is there a cameraman in the water who's like getting rocked about too?
He's sitting on a floaty.
He's in a floaty. Now watch how quickly the movie dissolves away from Javier telling the kind of geopolitical history lecture. Oh, like your brother who just wants to keep everyone alive.
I was gonna say he's second guessing his revolutionary cred.
For sure. I mean, if I didn't know better, I'd say this movie was written by a staunch anti-communist, like a serious Cold War,
right?
Like Cold War loyalist.
See, that whole speech would have made a lot more sense if he wasn't this whole thing about trying to keep his family alive. If he was, like we talked about before, if he was more of a free spirit who just wanted to dance.
Well, I'm trying to think of like what's Swayze's tensions that he's in the original movie, that he's poor and
yeah, like it's about not being taken seriously.
Yeah,
because he's just a dancer, and it has more to do with class. He's low
exactly
class, and the high,
Well, this is more to do with class, even though.
And this should, yeah, right.
Yeah, it should, but this should be about race, but it's not. It's about class.
Yeah.
Apparently, it's fine that they're together. Which, remember, this is before the Civil Rights Act by about 6 years.
Yeah.
And it's not as if things were like running swimmingly after that either. Notice the little archive, like crackly archive quality that's on our screen after them watching the footage on the. So that's a nice stylistic touch from Guy Furland.
Yeah, Furland bringing his genius. I couldn't find really much of anything else that I recognize right away that he directed, but he's done a lot of television. Plenty of television that you know. all the nip tucks in the
Oh,
house. And
Yeah, I can
like all,
see him
all
as
the
a
major
nip.
shows. Yeah.
I can see him as a nip tuck. That's that kind of superficial, more unchecked superficiality. That's what that show was about. But it was also
I never watched it. I never watched Nip
because
Tuck.
it's about plastic surgery.
I mean, yeah, I know that much about it, but oh, relationship with the father coming back into play for the first time in what, 40 minutes?
Right. And also you, by the way, you'll never see her friends again. You'll never see January Jones again.
No.
Nope. Not once.
January Jones doesn't get her comeuppance, or at
Nope.
least
that entire conflict disappears from the movie.
forever.
Until she goes back to America.
Until you're kidnapped and saved by Morgan Freeman.
Until she goes back to America and marries a young and up-and-coming ad executive with a mysterious past.
Yeah, you were.
Also, this conflict is resolved in this
Nothing.
scene too.
Yeah.
So the movie's kind of put the brakes on
And that's another thing.
Anything that might
first
get too
movie.
interesting.
Right, yeah. Like everything's done better than the first movie. The sibling rivalry and problem in the first movie is not a major plot point, but the characters' motivations become huge.
Shakira.
It's time for another montage. We haven't had one in about 14 minutes.
And this is the one that most directly references the one in Dirty Dancing. Although I think with the kind of like the sunset effect of the lighting, it kind of looks more like the Kill Bill Part 2 when she's doing the training montage.
Right.
You know,
yeah.
Again, it's just a scene that's there to remind you that this is in fact a Dirty Dancing franchise movie.
Right.
This is one of the things. I mean, this is such a famous song.
Mm-hmm.
This is such a big hit. It's not just that we're putting music that doesn't sound like it's from the 50s. We're putting the most famous music from 2004 in there.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, how big would Shakira have been at this point? I mean, maybe it's slightly before her like.
She's shaking so much now she can't even stop doing it in the halls. Is this a joke between them, where he keeps putting his hand through her cleavage, and she either is offended or laughs? What's going on?
Yeah, it's sort of saying like once we become comfortable with the idea of touching each other, there's no limits on how much I can touch you.
Well, also because that's something that Patrick Swayze said. He's like, what you allow that somebody could touch you, you'll become a dancer.
Yeah, he's the gatekeeper of consent in this movie. That is his actual name, not dance class instructor. It's,
right.
I am the gatekeeper of consent. A lot of people appearing in mirrors. Was that a big thing in the first movie? Or did Guy Ferland just figure out how to do it and he's like, let's do that for every shot? Hey guys, I figured out how to film people through mirrors.
That's going to be my thing.
Yay, good job, Guy. Well done. Oh, this is the whole subtitle scene.
Mm-hmm.
Which, pretty...
New Year's Eve. Michael kissing Fredo.
And we know what... New Year's Eve, 1958 in Havana. We know what that means. How much of the movie is left to go? Like about half hour?
Half hour, yeah. I'll bet a half hour.
I think it's at this point.
That's where
I
we
was
are
like,
in the screenplay for sure.
at this point of the movie, I was like, don't try and cram the Cuban Revolution into the last half hour of the movie, please. It's like, can they just leave before it happens?
Right.
But no.
Uh-oh. We got problems.
She's going to get found out.
Except rape.
This movie has such a Godfather fetish. It's even got Luca Brasi
Right?
singing in the club. Oh, Cuba. Cuba. Cuba.
She's going to get so wild, she's going to dance with a brown kid. And then shit's going down. No, no, no. You have a seat. Is it just me, or have they not built up this relationship at all? By the time Jennifer Grey is kissing Patrick Swayze, you think
Again, it's like it's a
they belong
misremembering.
together.
It's like it's an insulting misremembering of what 80s movies are like. It's like someone going, basically, you know, they solve everything in montages in 80s movies.
Right.
I'm like, no, there's stuff before and after.
Yeah.
The montage is just like it just accelerates what's happening. You have to put the thing in for the montage to take care of. There's Maya.
There's Maya, right? Yeah.
I'm surprised. Yeah, she was so familiar as Lola Martinez.
Uh-oh.
And
Katie be dancing.
I also thought that you know, at one point I thought, actually, am I being unfair about the anachronistic quality of this movie? Because let's face it, Time of Your Life doesn't sound like it's a song from the 1960s.
Right.
But I was like, here's the difference. Bill Medley is not in Dirty Dancing on screen as a singer, as far as I know. Yay! Cut away to Swayze.
Swayze's so proud.
So here's the thing. As the movie went on, I was like, oh, they only had Swayze for a day. That's why he's in so little of this movie.
Swayze's like the piano teacher from Groundhog Day. He's like, that's my student.
yeah, absolutely. But I thought, well, because I was like, I can tell how much time they had him for.
Right.
Based on whether he leaves this room or not. So that one brief cutaway, I was like, oh, well, they must have had him for at least a day. And then I'm like,
right.
Wait a minute. That cutaway could be anywhere. They could have just like, he could have been the same room. They sat him down. They got a bunch of extras in the background, had him going like this. And it's just still the dance studio.
That one shot was shot in Chicago.
It was shot in his home.
Yeah.
I'd love it was like a Naked Gun backdrop of like Rome behind him and him just going like this. But that's it. That's all your Swayze. So I was wrong when I said a third, because that cutaway is literally nothing.
Yeah. That's it?
That's it. That's all Swayze.
Okay.
That's all the Swayze you get. Maybe they were saving him for Dirty Dancing, Disco Fever, or whatever the next one's going to be. Although if it's going backwards in time, it'd be like Sultans of Swing. I don't know. Uh-oh.
Oh, he gave a Lucas clap.
I'm very uncomfortable.
Hey, Swayze
okay,
again.
so sorry, it's not gone. There was another cutaway. Possibly the same cutaway.
Could you just clap
slightly
for us?
longer. Imagine being the editor in this movie being told to up the amount of Swayze, and you're like, there's a finite amount of Swayze in this movie.
Yeah. Oh, we're just piling on the Swayze at this point, Tom.
Rule of 3. I must have stopped looking.
Patrick, I'm going to need you to smile, looking like you're proud, then clap, then whistle.
And you're wrapped. Really? Yeah. Not around it. I also don't like how Mrs. Dr. Richard Kimball is getting all the flack for... Because the husband's supposed to be like more sympathetic, but he's still part of the same WASP culture she is. It's like, It's not...
Yeah, not pool boy.
Or Diego, as we've been calling him.
Oh, no.
It was a good slap. If she'd have fought the one-armed man that way, she might not have got killed.
She might not have died.
This is a bit of a tangent, but I saw the one-armed man in an episode of Star Trek Enterprise recently, and I swear they filmed him in profile when he first appears on screen to do is he gonna be one-armed man again? Did they cast him because he only had one arm? No, he has two arms.
You hit our child, so yeah, you're kind of wrong. Sometimes I wish we had no children.
Sometimes I wish that they'd written an end to this line I'm saying.
Or a reason for me to say it.
Granted, I don't know exactly what parenting looked like in 1958, but this feels like at the earliest 1990s parents who like slap their kids and then go, "Oh, I really shouldn't have done that." Like, I feel like there would have been a couple of weeks where they would be feeling fine about it in 1958.
Right.
Or never, question it again.
Never question it.
And the idea that John Slattery is like would never do it. It's just weird. It's like it's the most romanticized thing.
How many rounds to this dance competition are there? Do we have to have a dance and a fight and then a dance and another fight? Or what's going on?
The next round is on New Year's Eve.
Oh, of course. I forgot.
So no spoilers, but something might happen on New Year's Eve in Cuba in 1958 that means a dance contest sort of pales into insignificance a little bit. Can't imagine what that would be, but let's stay open to the possibility.
See, as an audience, you want the audience to fall in love with them as a couple. That's what happened in the original movie.
Yeah.
You were pulling for them.
I don't know who we're rooting for here.
Right.
You know, I like I said
your
before,
sister and your mother fight terribly.
I totally watch a John Slattery as Elvis movie. I'd also watch a movie where Stella Ward changes her dress every scene.
Right.
Just every scene she just walks in and is going. Looks incredible.
Oh yeah.
Like just an award show, and she presents all the awards, and every time she comes out, she's got a different dress on.
Different dress on.
Look at me criticizing the Weinsteins for being creepy about women in movies, and then saying that.
Which of us has not fallen in love with Celia Ward every time we saw Celia Ward in anything?
She even looks good with a bludgeoned head.
They don't hate you anymore. Isn't that great?
No. This movie has a real like it's like a written by someone who's afraid of conflict, and every time they write it in, they're like,
this is what it is.
I don't like it. I don't like conflict. Let's just have them all make up. This
is a absolute 2000 to 2005 thing in movies where they don't want bad guys to be too bad.
Yeah.
And they were...
Unless you're a communist, apparently.
Yeah, yeah. You want to show our bitch daughter a thing or two?
But then to your point, I mean, think about the James character. I mean, he's basically an ally now. It's
right,
like,
exactly.
He was your rapist.
He attacked her.
And now he's like the difference between you're holding it together and not.
It's like they're trying to give this married couple an arc.
Right. Oh, you go, Luca. Ain't no bad. I don't think people wielded those 60mm cameras around like they were camcorders at a school play. Do you? I don't think that happened. That feels very modern. It's not as like unwieldy as a phone.
Right. They look pretty good to me.
You could play it totally the other way, and you'd be like, if only something would come along that mean we wouldn't have to dance and lose this contest. That's a great story. It's like,
Right.
we're gonna lose this. If only there's a way that we could like not dance and show ourselves up. New Year's Eve, Feliz Año Nuevo. That sign might as well
so
say.
So far, they're doing the exact same dance from the first movie. All right.
That sign might as well say, the revolution is tonight. Starting at 9 p.m. Eastern. This would be a great opportunity to like cut away to the bar and Fredo's going, I need to get a real drink because I can't. I can't.
Uh-oh. Brother starting
upstaging me with his terrorist attacks. This is where I started to fear that my premonition that they would try and cram the revolution into the last act of the movie came true.
It's getting exciting.
The most exciting thing that's happened in this movie.
So this movie decided to be a political movie over a dance movie in this last scene, no?
And literally 15 minutes of the movie to go, and we're going to do the revolution. It won't even take us till the end of the movie to get it completely over and done with.
No, Big Brother would mop the floor with that kid.
Yeah, but he has no passion. He's only got the passion to help stage a revolution.
Yeah.
Not to work in a hotel.
Not to dance. See, this would have been interesting if more of the movie was devoted to them trying to give credence to their father.
I love how serene it seems. There is a literal revolution happening. Yeah. Which so far has been represented by a scuffle in a hotel.
And that's it.
Look at how calm everything looks.
You know, you're a pretty good dancer from what I saw before I pulled my gun while being a waiter.
Yeah, it's like you're a pretty lousy waiter, but a great terrorist. There we go.
There we are.
It's like, again, as far as I know, the Cuban Revolution was just a street parade.
I guess I didn't have to try to attack anyone in that hotel. It's over.
Oh, right. I didn't clock that he's... Oh, so he was doing some... Wait, so that wasn't even part of the revolution? What he was doing?
Yeah, I don't know.
I was like, I just... It's like Frank Drebin. It's like, well, coincidentally, I was trying to kill the head of the military, but coincidentally, there was a revolution, so it's all right. It's like Frank Drebin and his drug dealers. I shot them, and then they turned out to be drug dealers.
and I see a guy in a toga waving a knife trying to kill somebody, I shoot the bastard.
Again, I'm not, I'm not really getting much urgency that people leaving this hotel. There's a few bellboys.
Yeah.
Like it's like
everything's calm.
And again, my main, I'm gonna, I'll lay it on top. My main frame of reference for this is The Godfather Part 2. But even then, there were people trying to get on planes.
Right.
As far as I know, there was only one way out of Cuba. In Michael Corleone's car.
What you couldn't do was go to the beach, put down a blanket, and have a chat.
So it's not even that it saves the revolution to the last 15 minutes. That was the revolution, what you just saw.
Yeah.
That's it.
There's no talk of the fact that they couldn't finish the dance contest and win money for his family.
Well, the implication is that now he doesn't need the money.
Don't worry. We're going to win because we're going to have sex on the beach.
Why are they gone back
Silhouette
to that Havana?
Sex.
I'll make love to you in the place where I got fired from my job. There you go.
All right. I called it exactly.
That's basically what you said in dialogue. The consolation prize is pretty good. Your penis.
Because your penis went into my vagina. Oh, for fuck's sake.
I know white people are naive, but tell me what's wrong. Basically, you're going to get run out of the country if you haven't already got run out of the country.
Your parents are dead.
In reality, it would have happened last night.
Yeah.
I don't know why you're all so slow in getting out of the hotel. Because we will blow that fucker up. Yeah, the real victims of the revolution are the wealthy white visitors and their families.
She said, you'll come with us. You'll leave your whole family behind and just, come with us, the white people. How could it not get better? I was telling you about that.
Pat quicker, revolution.
we gotta go. I was telling you about my good friend, my best friend and former roommate who had to take many trips to Cuba. So he was setting up stuff for the Sundance Institute. And my favorite story was, there's a bunch of people. I want to say Alexander Payne was one of them, but I don't remember if that's exactly right because there are many stories. But, there's a group of Hollywood people in Cuba for a festival.
Sorry, I just want to stop and point out
the
ultimate white privilege moment.
Right.
Like a revolution has just happened in Cuba and she's getting angry at her hair being tangled.
Yeah.
Okay, carry on.
But at any rate, they're all sitting there about ready to watch a movie, and in walks Fidel Castro and sits right in front of them. So afterwards, they're at a bar or something and getting drinks, and one person said, did anybody else think about being the person who assassinates Fidel Castro? And like 8 people went, yeah, that thought went through my head. I totally thought I could be the person who killed Fidel Castro.
It wouldn't have done much for John F. Kennedy's legacy if
Yeah, right.
If your ex-roommate was the person who finally got him after the Bay of Pigs and numerous cigar bombs.
Oh, fuck.
It's like, it's easy, guys. He's right there. Easy. What was the... Well, I wish I knew what the movie was and what Fidel Castro thought of it.
Yeah. But make no mistake, I am going to leave you.
I know it was the ultimate white privilege moment, but she was right to persevere with that hair. It looks amazing.
It looks great.
Hashtag priorities. I think this is it. This is the time of your life.
Yeah, this is absolutely
elevator music time of your life.
You can hear it, yeah. We're still dancers in our hearts.
Even though let's face it, we were going to lose that contest. Those guys were really good.
They were really fucking good.
The voiceover's back.
Yep. That is more important.
I like how they go refocusing on the contest. It's like, even at the end of Titanic, which, let's face it, trivializes what happened on the Titanic to some extent. At least we still spend the last of that movie talking about the ship sinking. You know? This is like the Titanic, but you never really talk about the ship sinking.
No.
I love the fact that they're listening to music in the club that has sampling in it. Sampling of tracks that are from the 1970s. Okay, so the 1970s haven't happened. Sampling hasn't happened.
Another movie with time problems.
Maybe that's the red flag. Yeah, everyone's happy dancing in the club.
Everyone's delighted.
We're all gonna die of COVID, but at least we all get along. But see, both families fine with it. And the credits roll while the movie's still in action.
Holy shit.
While the movie's still in action, a la Jaws 2. Bound to be a bad movie. I want to introduce a new section of the podcast. It's called Credit Check. I've done this on a number of things, and now I'm going to formalize it.
I know you've done it.
So I'm going to call it the Credit Check. It's to check the interesting things that come out of the credits of the movie. Hasn't happened yet. But I'll let you know when it does.
Of course you will. Are we actually going to hear Shakira, Shakira, Shakira?
Just to kind of underline.
Just to underline the time problems with this movie?
Right. Someone who may not have even, who hasn't been born yet. She's a time-traveling musician. And the fade out. More period appropriate music.
Okay, I got a confession.
Yeah?
I now remember one more thing from this movie, and it was this song.
Interesting.
I remember hearing this song and thinking, I got to know more about that group.
Yeah. Well, they appear in the movie. They're in La Rosa Negra the first time they go in.
Okay.
I just don't think people said things like represent in 1958. Like, I think you get like a Doc Brown response, you know? What's it got to do with density?
But I want to say there's a portion of this song that's so cool. Like I remember buying this song.
And the Shakira track is great too.
Oh yeah.
I wouldn't put in this movie for many reasons. But yeah, in the abstract, of course. Great soundtrack. It's not what you want to hear about a soundtrack, is it? In the abstract,
it's great.
When separated from the movie, it's a great soundtrack.
Wow. Represent. Hoo-ah. It's kind of combining a bit of the scent of a woman.
I think I may have missed it. There was a dual dialect coach credit, which alludes to the fact that Romola had to learn to speak American and Diego Luna had to learn to speak in a Cuban accent. I was like, why the fuck didn't you cast an American and a Cuban?
All right.
I mean, it's like all of Hollywood's...
Johnny's Mambo. Which means this leaves no doubt that Patrick Swayze is Johnny.
You think that's the smoking gun for you?
Yep.
So what are you saying? You saying that he... Revlon? I gotta say, I think Revlon was the real success movie of the success story of this movie. The makeup was spectacular. So what do you think? So Johnny de-aged 15 years. I guess he left during the revolution, right?
Must have.
Miramax, we make for movies uncomfortable.
Oh, what a treat.
So you're positing that he left during the revolution because he couldn't work in Cuba anymore.
Right.
Is Dirty Dancing set in the Catskills?
Yeah.
That was his next move? Or did he do stuff in between?
Well, we'll find out in the next sequel.
That leads to my other question. Do you think this movie killed a franchise in the making, or do you think it was always meant to be a one-off?
I think
tangentially related to Dirty Dancing.
I remember hearing rumor mill about a Dirty Dancing sequel for years. They wanted Patrick Swayze and Jennifer Grey to do another movie. I can't remember anything about why it never happened. If it was like they just couldn't get a script together, they couldn't agree on where the story should go, or
Swayze only wanted to do one day and not leave the room. That appears to be a big stumbling block here.
Yeah. So, and I can't say that some genius had the idea of, hey, if we do this and make it a prequel and it does great, maybe they'll come back for a sequel, like, so that we can go on. I don't know.
I mean, yeah.
And of course, by 2004, now you're like, unless you because of how the characters have aged. I mean, I suppose you could put the characters into the 80s because you can't have it be post 2004, right? Because otherwise the characters would be 106. So
yeah. So
maybe
so is
maybe
that what you do
maybe
next? You put
maybe
him in
Patrick Swayze learns to, you know, some hip hop, and he's doing some breaking.
I was on the verge of like,
Piece of cardboard on the ground.
I was on the verge of like, trying to tease out this pitch of like, what Dirty Dancing would be like in the actual 1980s, and I'm like, how is it not Staying Alive?
Right.
Which is maybe why they didn't go there, or Saturday Night Fever.
Well, that was something I meant to mention to you during our Rambo series, which we have recorded but has not come out yet.
You'll hear that in 2023, something like that.
Yeah. But did you know that Stallone directed?
Yeah. Oh,
Staying Alive.
Did I know that he has like a gratuitous cameo?
The greatest cameo ever.
Yeah, it's great.
But
that's an excellent movie, which is how also I know it's directed.
I think about two things. One is, hey, let's make a sequel to Saturday Night Fever. So Staying Alive is what they choose to do. And how Stallone gets attached to that project is beyond me.
Yeah.
But
so yeah, but I guess that
has anything to do with the subject at hand.
No, it does, because it, I think it points out, the elephant in the room, which is that, it's really hard to do a sequel to a musical.
Mm-hmm.
And like what do you, and clearly, this movie does not answer the question of what do you do.
Right.
Because
this movie is what can you do wrong?
Yeah. They've no one comes out of Dirty Dancing saying, like, I wonder where this franchise is gonna go next. I hope it's Cuba on the night of the revolution.
Right.
So what did you think? I mean, obviously, you're basically seeing it for the first time, it sounds like, apart from a vague memory of Patrick Swayze and one of the
ending
songs.
Credit song.
So what did you think?
Oh, it's bad.
How bad is it? How bad is it?
It's not so bad.
I'm sorry, being a Carson audience member.
Yeah.
How bad is it?
I mean, it's certainly not so bad that it's good.
No.
This is not a
perish the thoughts.
Yeah, no. And the thing I noticed the most about this movie is you can see them trying to do the things they did in the first movie, and you can see how much they don't work.
Yeah, you can see taken out of context.
You can see parallels. So you see that she has problems with her parents, but now we're switching it to the mom, but it is not nearly as affecting as Baby's relationship with her father in the first movie. I mean, it just doesn't work.
And she doesn't really have problems with her parents.
Exactly.
She substantively does not have problems with her parents.
She has a problem in this movie with her sister, which also disappears into nothing, and like Kaiser Soze style, just it's gone. We
don't need another sexual predator in this pit.
That's true. That's true.
Let's not bring Kevin Spacey into
I won't bring I should have left Kevin Spacey at the door. But you see the 80s movie montages going, which are supposed to be the moments where you see these two characters coming together and falling in love. But that didn't seem clearly abundant to me. I couldn't see why these two were falling in love.
I mean, it's like it's that
there's so much not in love that they choose not to be with each other. So that's a problem.
That is interesting, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
it's so weird that, you know, even at like scene one, when I'm noting, you know, there are all these differences and thinking, you know, like in any other context, I'd be thinking, oh great, it's a sequel, we're doing something different, we're not going to rehash the same dynamic. But for some reason, possibly because there's so many red flags about this movie before it even begins, I've already trained my mind to despair. I'm
Right.
going, oh, don't do that. Don't
Just don't
switch
go
that
there.
about.
Yeah.
It's like, it was like, you know, because I'm already getting the sense of like, there's a reason that arc worked, or there's a reason that having those conflicts in place makes sense. And this is a big problem if you're going to do essentially the same story.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Because you might be switching up the, you know, you might be switching up the conflicts a little bit, but your framework, your kind of like coat hanger for this movie is training to dance dirty, doing a competition, letting your family down, dancing with someone poor. Like, it's all, you can see. I would be interested to find out. I think I said this I've said this, if not for the last one, but oh no, I said this in relation. You've given away that we're doing Rambo, so that's fine. I said this in relation to 2008 Rambo. Like, what came first? The decision to do a Dirty Dancing sequel, or that you had this movie and you figured the best way to market it is as a Dirty Dancing movie?
Put the Dirty Dancing label on it.
But
it doesn't feel like that. It feels like they started with Dirty Dancing.
But the biographical part, which I didn't know about, kind of suggests that they found out because I mean, how do you source, like, also in 2004, how do you like source? It's like, we need to find someone whose life is similar to Dirty Dancing. Do you know anyone whose life has elements of the plot of Dirty Dancing? It must have been the other way, where they're doing a biopic of this person, and that explains why they decided to put it in Cuba during the Revolution, because that is a strange decision too. That's a strange starting point. And then you sort of say, I wonder, their life, you know, like, this is a little bit like the movie Dirty Dancing. Maybe we should call it Dirty Dancing.
Dirty Dancing? Havana Nights?
Would it have been better as Havana Nights, Dirty Dancing? No. Even before I said the sentence, I know.
Well, like I said at the beginning, like this, you know, I think you're wrong, because I think they started with, let's do a Dirty Dancing sequel, and this is what they came up with. But
how do you retrofit someone's life to unless they're just making it up?
It felt much looser than that. It was like, this happened to be in my life, and we can apply that and make it a Dirty Dancing movie.
So is this have we found like patient zero of a person whose life, different stages of their life are like different movies? So it's like, and then I went to Vietnam, and I was a prisoner of war, then I came back. I don't know why I'm thinking about the Rambo movies, but you know, I am absolutely baffled as to how. I get the sense that probably this is a few different movies jumbled up into one. Like, I think there's probably,
yeah, I mean,
that someone had a like a Cuban set revolutionary story. Someone had someone's life story.
It does feel like this movie does feel like too many cooks in the kitchen.
Or no cooks.
Maybe, as the case may be. I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, it's like, it amounts to this movie. There's a T-shirt for you. This movie amounts to No Cooks.
This movie might have been this: Harvey Weinstein jotting down a note and says, "Go make this."
Well, I mean, I've been reading. Those of you who are listening to the podcast in the future talk about timelines that don't work. Will realize that I've been reading the Taking Shape books and about the Halloween movies, and Bob Weinstein produced the Halloween movies for a while, and now I know that no possibility is off the table when it comes to Bob Weinstein as a producer. So that's got to be factored in too. But it's just, it's so strange. I mean, I can't imagine a movie like that. Here's what I thought this movie was before I sat down and watched it, and you told me you'd seen it in a theater.
Okay, go ahead.
I thought it was like a direct-to-video sequel.
Oh.
Everything about it smelt like a direct-to-video sequel. Right. The title, but you know, I was as shocked as probably you were the first or second time round that this movie is packed with stars.
Well, and that's the thing, because I was gonna say,
and future.
Earlier, I was going to say, like, part of the problem with this movie is you don't have a Jerry Orbach and a Kelly Bishop, but you do. You do, yeah. You've got two amazing actors in those roles. I mean, you have two great fucking actors, so you do. And I think the problem is that you have given them nothing to do. But this movie feels like it's trying to give them something to do, which is the other thing, which makes me think that
they have their own storyline.
Maybe Guy Furland was not up to the task, and maybe that's where this movie lost its way. He's directed a lot of, I don't know what episodes he's directed, but he's directed a lot of television and a lot of great shows on television.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I mean, I think with, this is a big generalization, but with TV directors, you have to expand on the meaning of what's going on, but unless you're directing the pilot or the first few episodes, you don't necessarily have to establish the meaning of what you're seeing. This movie needs a directorial hand that is establishing what kind of movie you're watching, what's important about what's happening, and none of that. Like the movie, even the title screen of the movie gives you a lot to go, like it gives you a lot of information very quickly that it's hard to process.
Right.
It's like, am I watching a Dirty Dancing sequel? Am I watching a historical movie? What the fuck is this?
Is this is this an historical drama?
Right. Like what is it? And you know, and that thing about priorities, it's like, is the fact that in the closing voiceover they say, oh well, we didn't win the contest, but, and then I thought the next line
something much more important.
Yeah, and then I thought the next line was going to be,
of course, his family died of starvation, but
it's like, oh, Cuba got its freedom, or something like that. But it was like, what she's saying is, at least we all got to dance in a club together before I left.
Yeah, right.
So I'm like, what is this movie about? Like, you so it's like, well, then it might as well be about the dance contest, because it ain't again about the revolution. Like that would have been a perfectly salient point to make.
You know, like, because also, okay, there is a young woman at the center of each of these movies, this movie and its predecessor.
Yeah.
But think about the journey that Baby, as played by Jennifer Grey, goes on
in that
movie.
Yeah.
And And the journey for Katie in this movie pales by comparison.
Yeah, and also, I mean, it's not even an effective kind of like, well, because they play with the idea that it's like sexual coming of age, like young woman discovering her sexuality. But
yeah, but it's not.
She doesn't transgress anything except in the eyes of January Jones,
who disappears a little more than halfway
like,
through the movie.
Who dies early on? Who dies off screen early in the movie?
Right.
So, I think it's like,
But in the first movie, you have a very smart young woman who's clearly a daddy's girl, who does discover her first sexual awakening through one summer in the Catskills with the love of her life.
Well, that's what happens here in Cuba.
But doesn't.
No, I mean, it doesn't come out on screen that way, but
right.
What you're saying to me happens in this movie.
That's my point, is that this same thing is supposed to happen in both movies, and yet one feels far more, one you're invested in, and one you're not. So what is it about this movie that fails? Is it the director failing? Is it the script failing? Is it the actors failing?
The script is
it a bit of all of it?
Yeah, it's a bit of all of it. I mean, the script is really bad.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I just gave you an example. Like, it's one of those scripts where you can always complete the line better than
the writer
script
did
itself, you know, like you watch it and go, here's what you should have said here. Here's would have been a better way to wrap up that scene. And I just, you know, I think it feels cowardly to me in lots of respects.
I was just going to say the same thing, because in the first movie, you have Jerry Orbach in a couple of moments when he talks to Patrick Swayze and he finally says, I know you're not the one that got Penny in trouble. Patrick Swayze just kind of looks at him and goes, yeah. And he goes, hey, when I'm wrong, I say I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
None of that is present in this movie. Mom and dad just forgive daughter.
Yeah.
What if mom had a scene where she said, you know, when she's hanging the ornaments, because they established this. She has a conversation with her husband.
Yeah.
About how it made her feel, and what could we have done as dancers if we never started a family and made different choices? So it's a human thing to maybe say to your daughter, I owe you an apology, because when I saw you up there, I saw what my life could have been, and I gave that up to have you.
Yeah.
And what I know now is I wouldn't give you up for anything.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, now we're in the arena of human beings connecting.
And it's not like
we might be invested as the audience.
And it's not like those we know for a fact those actors can handle that kind of stuff.
Right, of course. Yeah.
It's not like we're dealing with amateurs here.
But instead it's devoid of that, and that's why you can never connect to anything that's happening in this movie.
It kind of talks itself out of its most obvious moves.
Yeah.
And I mean obvious in a good way, like this is where this is supposed to go.
Yeah.
We've seen this because it happened it happened in the first movie, and it's not a bad thing if you do it again, because you can mess with the,
so long as you do it well.
Yeah, well, you can, like you can flip some things around, and that's fine. And I think
you're already flipping the gender.
Yeah.
From dad to mom. So,
and then
in sequeldom, that's almost enough right there. That's just a sequel inversion.
Right. Our standards are very low.
Yeah.
But if you're
it's like a total impasse.
Our standards of what counts as variety in cinema
Yeah.
are dictated by movies like Die Hard 2, Die Harder. So we're you know, we're probably
They're
prejudiced against.
dictated by Rennie Harlan. You have a wide berth of shit you can do.
Yeah, but I mean, we have and will continue to talk, as far as viewers and listeners are concerned, about these issues of like, you need to double down on the things that can't work another way.
Mhm.
You know, and there are certain things in the Dirty Dancing formula. I mean, it's not really a formula, it's just a movie, but you realize, oh, you can't really switch this bit up, because
Uh-huh.
then you don't have a movie. You don't have a movie.
Then you don't have a movie, right?
And
Which
if
is
you're
what
gonna
happened to this movie.
And if you're gonna quote visually from Dirty Dancing, why not also remake the story a little bit,
Mhm.
and lean into where you are in like the time and the place is the big difference.
Right.
Have the revolution,
Which we're
like
talking
before
about
the
right
hour
now
mark.
with the episodes with
in a
Karate Kid.
1 hour. Have the revolution before. Here's my big note. Have the revolution before the hour mark in a 1 hour and 26-minute movie, and it might seem more organic to the premise.
Agreed.
I mean, you don't need to do a countdown to the revolution. You know, it just, or, well, and again, like on paper, you have you have the ripoff of The Godfather Part 2, where you see the rebels being like broken up by the police in the streets, and
Mhm.
but if you think about what the equivalent of that in The Godfather Part 2 is, like a man blowing himself up.
It's like it's as though this script made all the right choices and then fucked up
Yep.
all those right choices.
Or talked itself out of
Yeah.
the validity of those choices.
Because there's something between Javier and his brother, but it's never present enough for us to care about. So it's a good idea to have it in your movie, but if you're going to put it in your movie, have it matter.
And it's weird, like that scene is weird, and I saw this fairly recently, and I'd already forgotten. Like, I assume, again, I'm rewriting this in my head.
Right.
Between viewings, I've rewritten this in my head, and I thought that they were still in conflict, Javier and his brother, and then when the revolution started, as represented by a street parade,
Right.
they were like, "Oh, none of this matters." Like, that's how I remembered it.
Right.
And that's kind of how that scene should have gone. Like, whatever our issues are, look what's happening around us.
Yeah.
But what actually happens is they reconcile before that, and then the brother goes, I didn't know there was a revolution booked for tonight. Which is ludicrous if you're like, we're supposed to get the idea that his brother is, well, I don't know. We're supposed to get the idea that he's a player in the revolution, but obviously he wasn't. Obviously he was just like a
Clearly
maverick
not.
terrorist.
Right, exactly. He was just...
Because he didn't know what was happening.
They made it seem like he just wanted to steal wallets at the hotel. Like, fuck.
He was just like, that was his like his cabaret act was the crazy gun waiter. Oh, it's the crazy gun waiter. He's doing prop comedy here in the Palace Ballroom.
He was gonna burst into his own dance routine.
So yeah, it's like, yeah, it's you're absolutely right in saying that it's about, it's like not having the confidence to go through with the choices that you've already made.
Well,
and I don't know, maybe that is studio interference of like,
you know what, I gotta look up
the Weinsteins coming down and going, oh, we need them to, we need to cut down on this. Or
let's go back to the writer's part. So I might be right in this, because we've got story Kate Gunzinger, story Peter Segal, then we have screenplay Boaz Yakin and Victoria Arch. And what I was gonna say was that movie feels like one of those movies that started off with maybe something a bit more clear, but one person said, I don't like this and I don't like this, and what if we did this? And it kept changing hands, it kept going through drafts, and it just got continually more watered down as they went on.
And suddenly January Jones gets a call telling her that she rapped 3 days ago and didn't know it. She's like, I have several scenes
Don't
left.
I have more scenes
All
left?
gone.
No, they're gone. So we're going to need you to get out of the hotel room. Thank you.
For some, I'm trying to put myself in the mindset of the actors in these movies and where they were in their careers. And I wonder whether they all went home at night thinking, maybe this is it. Maybe this was our shot. And, you know, I think happily for all of them, they all got a second chance.
But they all, yeah. I mean, that's the other thing is they're, you know, like
even
we said before, this movie has people in it, and these people are all, you know, they're all working.
And yeah, and even Romola, who, you know, I think they're banking, maybe at this point banking on her being a bigger star than she turned out to be. She's, you know, still working. I've seen her in a bunch of things where she's kind of freed to do real acting, and she's great. And she's not great in this, but I know for a fact she's a good actress.
Yeah.
I think it's like it's a product of having to play a character that isn't clearly defined, plus the fact that she's not speaking with her own accent, and that like all those things. And I think it works the same for Diego Luna as well. Like he's never, like, there was a one point in the movie he said a line like, you want to hear the music of Cuba or something. And I was like, I've heard Diego Luna talk in English in other movies. He does not have that Antonio Banderas problems of like, he doesn't sound right in English. Like he nails in English. Like so it must be the script, you know. It's like it's the conditions of doing this, and there's probably a Cuban dialect coach telling him to put more accents on things, and you know all that. So it just like feels like these actors don't get to show their potential,
right?
In a way that at least two of them, I'm sure that this was seen as their breakout performances.
Right, for sure.
For Hollywood, you know, taking a British actress to Hollywood and a Latin
Absolutely.
American. But they're stranded with this kind of woodenness which comes from the script and I guess the direction as well.
That's my guess. Yeah.
That they're not gonna, and even I mean, in the end, I don't really know what. You know, I thought a lot about Donnie Darko, and I thought about like how he was used in that movie, and I think that's what they wanted here too. So that was 2000, so it's a little while ago, but like he doesn't have a very big part in Donnie Darko, but you know, that movie wanted to create the flavor of the 80s, and there's no easier way of doing that, no better way of doing that than to have Patrick Swayze play such a sinister character.
Right.
Like, if you want like fucked up 80s, you get clean cut Patrick Swayze playing, you know, this very sinister character. And not that they want to make him sinister here, but they want to make people go, the 80s. Look, that's crazy. Right. But it's it's the non-artistic version of that. You know, it's like we got him, what do we do with him? I don't know, dance, put him in a montage. I don't know. Right. Like, what did he do in Dirty Dancing? As well, he was the star of the movie. He did a lot. We're
gonna have him look on. We're gonna have him smile. But if you boil it
down, what did he do? We're gonna have him
wink.
It's like, if you boil it down, what did he do? I don't know. He danced and he was in a montage. Okay.
There you go.
So.
All right.
This effectively ended the Renaissance, I think, because he doesn't really peak much after this, and of course, sadly, he wouldn't get that many more chances.
Right.
Really awful. This feels more like a Don Swayze movie. Is that the name of his brother, Don Swayze?
I don't think it's Don, is it? Look it up.
Okay.
But I just saw
This is
his
how you
brother.
pad out a
I just saw his
125
brother
minute-
make a cameo in something the other day. I can't remember what the hell it was.
Yeah, Don Swayze. Yeah.
Okay.
Was it
But
the
I just
movie
remember
Evasive
thinking,
Action?
hey, Swayze brother.
Was it the movie Evasive Action?
No.
Was it the movie Beneath the Leaves?
No. Is he in the Skulls?
Was it the movie The Night Crew?
No.
The Appearing?
Nope.
Heathens and Thieves.
All right, I'm done with you. Anything else for you for Dirty Dancing Havana Nights? DDHN.
He was in the Tremors TV series.
Hey, there you go.
No, I know. I think there's so little movie there that we said everything that you could possibly say.
I think
About a
we've
movie
held
that
hands as
doesn't
much
even
as we
make-
possibly could.
I don't think anyone has talked this much about this movie.
No, for sure. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for Dirty Dancing Havana Nights. We thank you for doing the watch along, and we'll be seeing you in March at some point for something. For Tom Stewart of Lonesome Whistle Productions, I am Michael Shantz of the How Dare You Awards. We will see you next time for another. Dropping now is the Karate Kid series. So listen to that on the Everything Sequel podcast. Say goodbye, Tom.
You gonna run us gringos out?
Yeah, I am. So long, everybody.